Historical background. Pre-revolution cooperation. Prior to 1979, Iran and Israel maintained a pragmatic alliance. Under the Pahlavi monarchy, Iran recognized Israel in 1950, and both nations engaged in military, technological, and economic cooperation. Iran supplied Israel with oil, and in return, Israel provided military equipment and intelligence support. This collaboration was driven by mutual interests, particularly in countering Arab nationalist movements and Soviet influence in the region. Post-revolution hostility. The 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran marked a dramatic shift. Ayatollah Khomeini's regime adopted a staunch anti-Israel stance, branding Israel as the Little Satan and severing diplomatic ties. Iran positioned itself as a leader of the Islamic world and a staunch supporter of Palestinian groups opposing Israel. This ideological shift laid the foundation for decades of adversarial relations. Proxy conflicts and regional influence. Support for proxy groups. Iran has consistently supported groups hostile to Israel, including Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, and various militias in Iraq and Syria. This support includes financial aid, training, and weaponry, aiming to create a network of proxies that can challenge Israeli interests across the region. Israeli retaliation. In response, Israel has conducted numerous military operations targeting Iranian assets and proxies. These include airstrikes in Syria to disrupt weapon transfers to Hezbollah and cyber attacks against Iran's nuclear infrastructure. The most notable of these was the 2010 Stuxnet virus, a joint U.S.-Israeli operation that sabotaged Iran's uranium enrichment facilities. Nuclear tensions. A significant flashpoint in the conflict is Iran's nuclear program. Israel perceives a nuclear-armed Iran as an existential threat, given Iran's hostile rhetoric and support for anti-Israel groups. In contrast, Iran insists its nuclear ambitions are for peaceful purposes. The 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, was an attempt to address these concerns, but Israel opposed the deal, arguing it did not go far enough. The U.S. withdrawal from the agreement in 2018 further exacerbated tensions. Escalation to direct conflict. April 2024, Iranian strikes on Israel. In April 2024, Iran launched a direct attack on Israel, firing over 300 drones and missiles at Israeli military and civilian targets. Israel's Iron Dome defense system intercepted the majority of the projectiles, resulting in minimal damage and casualties. This marked the first significant direct confrontation between the two nations. Israeli retaliation. Israel responded with airstrikes on Iranian missile facilities in Isfahan and Tabriz. These operations aimed to degrade Iran's missile capabilities and serve as a deterrent against further aggression. ALROA.com, 5. Current dynamics. Fragmentation of the axis of resistance. Iran's network of allied groups, known as the Axis of Resistance, is showing signs of fragmentation. Hezbollah, a key ally, has suffered significant losses, including the death of its leader, Hassan Nasrallah, and the destruction of much of its arsenal. Similarly, Iraqi militias, integrated into state defense forces, are focused on domestic priorities and are hesitant to escalate tensions with Israel. The Houthis in Yemen, despite their anti-Israel rhetoric, lack the capacity to launch effective attacks. This fragmentation has weakened Iran's regional influence and its ability to project power against Israel. Israeli offensive, Operation Rising Lion. In June 2025, Israel launched a large-scale military operation, dubbed Operation Rising Lion, targeting Iran's nuclear and military facilities, as well as senior regime officials and scientists. The operation aims to curb Iran's nuclear ambitions and potentially destabilize the regime. The offensive comes amid a backdrop of weakened Iranian defenses and diminished regional influence, raising the possibility of significant shifts in Middle Eastern power dynamics. Global implications. The Iran-Israel conflict has far-reaching implications beyond the Middle East. The United States, a staunch ally of Israel, has been drawn into the conflict, with its diplomatic efforts to renegotiate the nuclear deal being undermined by Israeli actions. Additionally, the involvement of other regional powers, such as Russia and China, who have provided support to Iran, adds complexity to the geopolitical landscape. The potential for broader regional warfare and the risk of nuclear proliferation are significant concerns for global stability. Conclusion. The Iran-Israel conflict is a complex and evolving rivalry characterized by ideological differences, regional power struggles, and direct confrontations. While both nations have engaged in proxy warfare for decades, recent developments indicate a shift toward direct conflict. The fragmentation of Iran's proxy network and Israel's assertive military actions suggest that the dynamics of the conflict are undergoing significant changes. The international community's response will be crucial in determining whether this rivalry escalates further or moves toward a resolution.